and we're going to dive in pretty quickly because we have a fair amount of ground to cover in the next hour. Wanted to point out to you the second slide in your handout, which is the disclaimer. If you've heard me speak in the past, you'll know that although I'm a lawyer and we're speaking about a legal subject, nothing I say today should be construed as legal advice. And even if you ask a question which I answer, my answer shouldn't be considered legal advice. And I say this for several reasons. One, I'm required to as a matter of professional ethics and responsibility. And two, because I don't want anyone to leave here today thinking that I may have blessed a particular course of conduct. The topics we're going to discuss today related to employer mistakes involve a number of different federal laws related to wage payments, labor relations, discrimination, etc. Each of these laws is very fact-specific, and the answers are very dependent upon the facts. And so in a presentation like this, it's really not a good place to get the facts necessary to give a legal opinion. What this is a great place for, and what I hope to do today as we go through these common mistakes, is to give you a clear idea of where the risks are, so that when an issue comes up, you may need legal advice to deal with the risk, but you'll know that. You'll know this is a problem. This is something that's a potential compliance risk that could get me in trouble with various federal laws or possibly state law. And I know I need to think before I do this because, as we'll see with a lot of the things we talk about today, prevention and avoidance, or compliance, to use a phrase, is a much cheaper solution than fixing the problem after the fact. So, having said that, I'll direct you to slide number 3, which repeats something I already said. We're going to go through today what I feel, based on my experience, are some of the most common home care employment mistakes. Now, in my practice, I represent primarily home health, hospice, and private duty providers in a wide range of matters. One area that I do a fair amount of work in is what we in the legal industry call labor and employment. Some of those are called HR. And over the years, there's some mistakes that I've seen home care employers make and make repeatedly, despite numerous presentations. And I know many other lawyers out there talking on these issues. But these are ones that are mistakes, not necessarily intentionally, but just because of some of the Fair Labor Standards Act and other requirements aren't intuitive. There are some things that you think you just ought to be able to do because how else am I going to incentivize the employees to act a certain way? So we're going to walk through and explain for some of these issues why, in fact, what seems like a pretty straightforward and obvious way to deal with the problem may not be. Now we'll start on slide number 4 here. I broke these into categories. And again, these aren't necessarily in any particular order, although I did start with wage-related errors because wage-related errors are some of the most common and can be some of the most problematic as far as costs for noncompliance. Now, I'll also tell you that wage and hour laws vary from state to state. We're going to talk about, I mentioned this on slide 5,